Good afternoon and welcome to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcasting Network. We're live from the North Shore Tavern across from PNC Park on Federal Street in beautiful North Shore. How's everybody feeling today?
I'm doing good. I don't know about everybody else. We got family here. We got friends. We got friends of the show. We got steak on a stone.
Yeah, the smell hits you as soon as you walk in the door.
Yeah,
It's crazy how good it is. But we also have with us the original starting lineup for this group. We've got Graves with us too, and she made the trip all the way from up north. How you doing today, Graves?
Guys, I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be here. It's nice to meet you both in person.
Yeah, believe it or not,
this is the first time.
This is the first time that we have all been together in the same room because we started this show once COVID was already fully peaked. So
yeah,
here we are.
Yeah, with COVID and everything else, it hasn't happened. So
yeah. So hey, if you're out here already or you're joining us online, we encourage you to ask us questions. We're going to have two topics today, and I think they're both pretty important for Pirates fans. The first one is, what has this team done to earn your fandom still? Why are you still sticking around with this team? I mean, it's a question I get asked all the time, and for me, it's easy. I'm loyal. I mean, but Graves, let's start with you since you're already up here. What has kept you loyal with this team? I mean, you've got a wife that's constantly trying to pull you into the White Sox, so
which may not be a bad thing right now to maybe put some energy in there too.
Yeah, explain yourself.
I think the easy answer is I've done my way. I've gone out and I read different articles and I get different perspectives, but I don't necessarily get consumed by the negativity, and that's one thing that's really kept me going all these years. I use my noggin and I think for myself, and I've been able to absorb and so my first reaction isn't always a negative thing. I love baseball, and I've watched baseball for nearly 48 years now, and it's just been always something that's been a part of my life and something that I've enjoyed, and frankly, since I've been on Twitter and I've met Jim and Gary, I finally found a home. I can talk to these guys and everybody else out there listening. Give me a follow. I love to talk baseball. I love to talk about the Pirates, and it's been an amazing run. We started this up, I think in March, something along those lines.
Yep.
And it just keeps growing every day, every month, and it's been amazing. So,
and Graves, you always help me out with things like transactions and things of that nature that, quite honestly, I don't always see, and you are always on top of that stuff.
It's something that interests me. Yeah, I keep an eye on the transaction page, and it may not necessarily always be related to Pirates, but it's different moves, different things that are happening around baseball. It's all important, and I've like I said, I'm able to sit back and take a moment and understand, okay, this is how it pertains to the Pirates, and I'd like to relay that information.
See, there's a lot of different types of fans of the Pirates. There's some that they're fans because they've lived here. It's black and gold. Their grandparents used to like them. They still like them. If they ever won, they'll go to a game. They enjoy that. They're not watching this team day to day and dealing with the downs as well as the ups. You survived moving away, Jim. So
I did.
How did this team manage to stay in your veins?
Well, you know what? I'm not the most creative guy in the world. So, I was born here. I love all the teams. It's never left. I will tell you a funny story. Whenever I had moved out to St. Louis after I graduated college, and I don't think I ever told you this. And my sister, her husband, the whole family out there, of course, they're huge Cardinals fans. And
Gross.
I remember getting out there, and my sister's like, you're going to like it here. The Cardinals have a pretty good team. And I'm like, what does that mean for me? That doesn't do me any good. Like, I don't know if she thought I was going to change allegiances or whatnot. But yeah, so for me, it's always been, man, I was raised here. I've gone to games at Three Rivers Stadium. I was fortunate enough to play a game at Three Rivers Stadium in college. Was it the second game ever at PNC Park? That stuff matters to me, and I just want to see them get back to where, the excitement that the hardcore fan base has for this team, the product on the field matches that. I hope we get there.
I mean, we've talked about like the different types of fans over the years. I think that the type of fan that can't be discounted are the ones that still have hope, because there's no reason to. Sometimes when you watch what's going on, I think recently what we've started to see, there is hope for the future. I think they could almost luck into a win at this point. They have so much talent coming up, but it's not here yet. So it's important when you're able to start talking about the Pirates and see others in a community that believe and feel the same way about it. They think like, yeah, there's a chance now. And maybe that's all Ben Charrington accomplishes in his time here. But it's pretty exciting to see where we're actually headed. So that's what we want to do today. We want you guys to have an opportunity to talk about some of the reasons you've stuck by this team and ask us anything you want. We've got some giveaways over here. Stop by and get some tickets and put them in the basket, see what you get. And if you're online, please drop us a question. We'd love to answer it. It's going to be a good time today. So anybody want to step up? Or do you want Jim and I to just talk?
Let's get somebody up here. I know there's
James,
somebody.
You made it a long way. Get up here.
James, don't be shy. Thanks, Graves.
So James is all the way from West Virginia, and he made the trip all the way up here, and that shows dedication not only to this show but this team. Why, James? Why do you stick with it?
Well, I've been a fan since 1979. I was 8 years old when they won the World Series. That's just what I grew up with. And I've been through the late 80s years, the early 90s, and then all the lean after that until the last playoff. I've just always been a Pirates fan. My mom's favorite player was Roberto Clemente, and mine was Willie Stargell growing up.
And see, you're just old enough to remember that, right? Like,
Just old enough.
yeah, like for me, I was 4 when the Pirates won the World Series in '79. So I have no recollection of that. My earliest sports memories, typically, I'm somewhere in like the 81, 82 range, 83 range, where I can start remembering. I remember Bradshaw's last pass against the Jets is one of my earliest memories, where his elbow was just shot, But yeah, so you actually, I'm a little jealous. You got a little taste of that back then. Now, maybe it's just been torturous now, but
It's not been too bad. My mom let me stay up and watch one of the World Series games. And she's like, if you miss school tomorrow, you know what you're going to get. It was a belt. And of course I missed school, but it was worth it.
I wonder
So
what
she
time
punished-
games started back then.
She punished him into being a Pirate fan is what it sounds like to me. But I mean, James, that's an awesome story. And when you're in a place like this, North Shore Tavern, you see all this history around you. I mean, you can actually appreciate it from a different level than we can.
Yeah, I remember a lot of the guys that I saw on there. I like looking at the old, it looks like old bubble gum or cigarette box, baseball cards. So yeah, the history in this place is amazing. It really looks good.
Yeah, I'm digging it too. It's just a cool vibe here. And I really love being right across from PNC Park is special too. Because there was a time not too long ago when we weren't 100% sure we were going to have a team. And every time I look at that field, that thought crosses my mind.
I've been to a lot of baseball courts. I've been to Camden Yards. I've been to Petco's just this year. And I told the people at Petco, I was like, you guys should be proud to have the second best park in baseball. And they're like, well,
Petco's-
number one. I was like,
Petco is beautiful, but
it's beautiful.
but
It was
that
middle-
being said,
beginning of August, it was 70 degrees.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, this ballpark is second to none in miles.
Well, everybody, I mean,
that's the cool thing about the North Shore Tavern. I mean, literally, it is steps away from getting into PNC Park. So I know we've met here even before games
yeah.
and, hung out for a few minutes and then head on into the game. So the vibe in here is so cool. From the memorabilia to the artwork. I know that some of it, Mike, the owner, some of this is from his personal collection. So maybe we can do a show from his house someday because I'd love to see what he kept for himself.
Yeah, me and my wife come to a couple games a year. I've never been there. I didn't even know this place was here.
Really?
Right.
This will be I think we'll stop by here every time we go to the ball game from now on.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff, James. Thanks for stopping by, man. Really
James,
appreciate
always
it.
appreciate it, bud.
I think we took it to an extreme. We got James, who's actually seen some of the players of the 70s. Now we need to swing back the other direction and get the younger crowd in here. Is Tyler ready? Tyler's going to bag out on us.
Come on, buddy.
Tyler is my neighbor, and he plays baseball for Pine Richland, right? All right. Would you call yourself a Pirates fan, or are you just wearing a hoodie your parents forced you to wear?
Well, who's your favorite player in baseball? Really?
Yeah?
Keeping it in state at least.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, I like that. I can't go wrong with Bryce Harper. So what do the Pirates do, in your opinion, that is missing you, that you're not into them as much as Bryce Harper? Is it just not having a player of that caliber, or is it not being good?
Well, first of all, like, I don't know, we just need to start making our routine plays. Like that one play last year against the Cubs, when they scored a run off.
You mean the one where Anthony Rizzo was openly laughing at us?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really great. So those bad plays, they stick with you a lot more than anything good they actually did then.
Except for Brian Reynolds.
So Brian Reynolds is very good. I think we can all agree there. So they at least have a little bit of a hook for you, right? Somebody that you can actually go and root for.
Can you tell me what position you play or? Yeah.
I play
First and third. Okay, so you're a right-hander then, at least in the field. How about at the plate? Right-handed? Okay.
Jim just told me a story a couple weeks ago that he went and took 5 swings in the batting cage and hurt himself.
Yeah.
Enjoy your youth because it doesn't last forever. And I hope the Pirates can get you back. What do you think they need to do to start attracting young fans back to watching the Pirates and wanting to root for them?
maybe trying to get some trades in. Maybe try to get a couple draft picks for maybe a good player. That's maybe a little bit older and can almost help.
I totally agree, sir. Thank you for stopping up here, brother.
Appreciate it. Good luck, buddy.
So, Jim, we're talking about
Yeah.
the difference between attracting older fans to the game and younger fans to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the Pirates to succeed, they're ultimately going to have to pull both of those in, right?
Yeah,
I think-
one's a way easier sell.
Baseball in general is trending old, though. So is it the game itself that needs to change, or is it the Pirates that need to change?
Well, I think Pittsburgh's a really interesting place to take a look at that from a national perspective, even because let's face it, the Pirates have had plenty of hard times. And so you're dealing with not only you dealing with an aging fan base in general in baseball, but younger people here haven't seen much.
Right.
So it is really something they've almost grown up with. It was Tyler, right? Tyler, was that it?
Yeah, Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler. I mean, Tyler is of the age where he probably doesn't even remember a heck of a lot about what just happened from
Yeah, to him,
2013 to 2015.
He's in that age group where that was his 1979, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you really think about it. When these teams like the Pirates go through these lulls, we're old enough where we can go, that's okay. We understand they're rebuilding. It's going to come back. But they don't understand, I think, from a fan building perspective, just how much they lose in those down years. These are formative years for kids like Tyler. And you're taking that away from them by not being able to put anything on the field that interests them at all. Maybe that's why it's important for teams like Detroit to hold on to a guy like Miguel Cabrera. You know, even though he has nothing to do with them winning, he's just there. They're paying him a lot of money to kind of be a doorstop and set records at this point.
Well, you know, it just, look, it helps to have stars, you know, and you're seeing it with some of the younger generation. I think they look, if the Pirates had those types of caliber of players like a Bryce Harper, or, you know, let's hope like maybe we see O'Neal Cruz turn into something
Right,
like
that.
That kids would love that. And that, I mean, that's all you would see around Pittsburgh would be those jerseys. So I think it's just one of those things where you get a couple really good high impact players. It's important in a lot of different ways. It's important, obviously, on the field and how you're going to compete, but it gives kids a chance to really buy into something here instead of, you know, going out and loving Mike Trout or loving
Exactly,
Bryce Harper.
yeah. I'll tell you what, we got to get Alex Stumpf up here. I see him over there.
Yeah, I love it because
Come on up, Alex.
He's right in the middle of a conversation, and we're just gonna just yank him out of a conversation. So
Alex Stumpf is the beat writer for the Pirates for DK Pittsburgh Sports.
Alex,
nice to have you on the show, sir. We meant to do that at some point anyway. Just happened to work out here.
I'm supposed to be in Bradenton right about now.
Yeah, I know. So you're probably disappointed you're not getting your orange swirl cone, and
It's a little colder too.
it is a little colder. It's colder down there actually right now too.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like in the 50s, I think. So
How are they living?
I don't know.
so tell me, like when you go down to Bradenton, what's a typical day like, or even a week when you're down there? What's that look like, or is there no typical?
I mean, you're asking the wrong person. I came onto the beat in the COVID year.
Oh, you haven't got you've gotten to do it though, right?
I got
Yes.
to do it for a little bit beforehand.
So what was it like?
It's a lot of early morning work, which stinks for me because I'm a night owl. I
Uh-huh.
have to adapt to getting to the facilities at like 7, 8 a.m. But they have morning workouts, some afternoon availability, and then it's basically just enough time to talk before games actually get started or right. So, you know, wrap that by 3 or 4, which never happens in baseball time. I don't know what to do with that.
Right.
It's supposed to be 7, but whenever there are games going on, there's a lot of traveling. There's a lot of, you're lucky if you do get any pregame availabilities because, you know, everyone goes on buses anymore. So.
And they're regulating everything right now with COVID too. So like you haven't even gotten to experience the normal go in the locker room and kind of bounce around and form those kind of relationships thing yet, have you?
I got it for a little bit in 2020.
Yeah.
If you look at end of 2019 roster 2020, there's I think 7 people who are on the roster.
Right.
Sheridan took over as GM who are still like that doesn't count age.
Sure.
Yeah, it's been tough, you know, trying to build some of those relationships.
Right. I mean, because I know before this, you wrote for, I forget the blog that you wrote for. Right. So it's not like you have just started covering the team, although I know it's much more professionally now.
It's a completely different animal.
But in a way, this environment has kind of forced you almost to regress a little bit, right? Because you almost have to think like a blogger a little bit.
There there are some times whenever it's like, well, okay, I need to get a story out, and I have, first of all, lockout. I can't talk to anyone in the
Right,
team
right.
sources about anyone on the 40-man roster. That's going to be problematic. And then it's like, well, I don't have any, player source or player interviews that I can go off of.
Right.
Now. It's like, well, okay, it ends up becoming like a blog post, either like a analysis
Yeah,
piece
almost.
or a mound visit or 10 thoughts or something like that. Like,
So when you're like, when something weird happens, like let's say the Cabrian Hayes missing the plate, the first base, because that was a big deal. Everyone made a big scene out of it. You get the same access that everyone else does because of Zoom. So how do you find your way around that? Like, how do you get creative about telling that story? I mean,
I think the better example, whenever Will Craig get go ahead, and fortunately, where I don't have to worry about putting it in, grid or anything. I just did like a serious break by break movement by it. Like, hey, you see how Craig Blanco was getting into cover first base because nobody knew what the heck to do.
right.
It's like if Adam Frazier doesn't get here, that's an inside the park home run right here. Like,
Right.
being able to do something that's really cool. But whenever it's the Hayes thing, it does become a challenge. Like, if I was in the clubhouse, maybe I'm able to get him for like 2 seconds
Right.
by himself. Maybe I'm able to get Rob for 2 seconds and be like, what happened? Like, did you call out? Maybe someone else saw something from a different day. You can do different things in that side of it. And we actually did a story like a day or two later from like the Dodgers side. I can't remember which player it was. Who was like screaming for it, like he missed first base, he missed first base.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the player either, but I know what you're talking about.
That's cool, but that's a couple days later at that point where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we all know what happened.
And you're at their mercy too.
Yes.
So one other thing I really wanted to ask you about, because you're really into the analytics community, a lot more than I am, admittedly. I mean, I understand it, I follow it, I use it, but I don't live by it. Do you feel like it's being more embraced now in general, or do you still feel like it's a little bit of a fight to kind of cram that into stories for people?
I mean, I try to never be like alienating with something like that. Like I'll go ERA plus, OPS plus, ground ball, or spin, or just
Right.
something, but also with all the traditional stats, because frankly, ERAs and batting averages and everything, they're around for a reason. You
Yeah.
get the whole story from just one stat. Or whatever, but you can get stuff like that. But I think people are more receptive, or at the very least more curious. Like those were the last 2 round visits I ended up writing for this thing where it was
Almost a glossary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you want to know how to use, you hear spin rate, let's hear, this is how you use it. This
Right.
Is how you measure how much
Now-
movement it actually gets.
Now, do you have to, when you're writing or thinking of a piece or whatever, do you have to fight against using it too much? Are you super on the analytics side of things? Or I'm just saying, like, for you personally, where are you at with it? Because you have a good background in both at this point.
I never want to be 100% analytics for anything that I do, which is why, like, there are a lot of times, like, even now, is it's I'll show video, like, look at the mechanics, see what's going on there, see if there's something to explain why. Because if you just regurgitate a bunch of numbers, like, anyone can go to the Fangraphs or baseball support pages, pull a couple numbers.
Anyone does.
Yes. It'd be like, man, that's an analysis piece. It's like, well, no, you're just regurgitating some information here. You have to be able to take it that one step further.
Right. You got to make it fit into the real world a little bit. Yeah.
You have to show why are you communicating for this information, because I'm able to interpret this, I'm able to offer some insight besides just a random percentage.
I mean, I appreciate what you do because it's difficult, I think, to everybody to grasp those numbers. Everybody has their favorites too. Like my favorite is whip for pitching. To me, I can look at whip and I can pretty much decide whether I think that's a quality pitcher or not. But I know for other people, that's kind of a fake number and they don't really dig that. So how do you just...
They're all fake numbers.
But everybody picks their favorites. I'm sure you have some too, like OPS plus or whatever.
Yeah, I really like the expected stats whenever we get into the OPS pluses and stuff like that. It's got
But I hear a calling for MLB to start kind of forcing it into their broadcasts a little bit more, because for those of us that use it a lot and actually kind of evaluate players in that way, and the scouts are using it as well, so it's not like it's a bad thing.
It's a tool.
I'd like to see them do that a little bit more. My fear is hearing like Greg Brown talking about OPS Plus and having no idea what he's talking about.
Boy.
Yeah, Joe Block understands that stuff, right?
Interpret it, and if you have a two-person radio, those two angles, that's good. That's a good dynamic.
Yeah.
ESPN has the StatCast for when
Right.
they have like a playoff game or just some Sunday night games, and I usually go to that because
Yeah.
it's more entertaining. For me, it's not 100% on the top for me. It's probably how I would look at it.
Yeah. I actually watched they did a whole broadcast of a couple games like that last year. Yeah, I like that. I think it's interesting. It really shows a side of the game that I guess like I first worried it was going to dehumanize the game, because I love that baseball's the way it is, but at the same time it's brought something to it for me like that I'd never really understood before, and I find myself going back in history and applying some of those stats to like Andy Van Slyke now, and
Put it in college, basically. Gordon Clemente hit like 290 and 68 year pitcher. He's like the same OPS plus as Larry Walker and pre-humidifier, peak steroid era course.
Right.
Like 380.
Right.
It's cool to see those type of comparisons, and that's something that we really didn't get beforehand.
Yes.
And the only other thing I can think of that we need to talk about really is, what do we think about Roboumps? I mean, it's coming to AAA. We know that. There's no stopping it.
I am an incredibly petty person. So I look at someone like Andy Rodriguez, who's a very talented pitch receiver, defensive catcher.
Right.
But he's also just like a really good athlete. And this year with Henry Davis and so many reps behind the plate, he's going to bounce around the guy. He's going to place it more outfield. He's going to place his first base, second base. It's
Right.
just where you can get some players there. If there's no one on base, there really is very little incentive until strike two to have anyone who can catch a baseball.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
So
It essentially turns it into kind of catching it's softball, right? Slow pitch softball. We tend to put someone back there who's just going to be able to catch the ball and maybe a play at home plate.
I would say throw somebody out if anyone ran anymore.
Yeah, I mean, so that's not even a concern.
So here's my point. Until two strikes, if we're going by Roboumps, you do not need a catcher out there. So Andy Rodriguez can go play, another second base, do an automatic shot, something right there. And then two strikes. All right, hang on, guys. I got to put on some pitcher's gear behind the game. So it'll be like 7-hour games because this is how we're playing under this way.
It's just a matter of time too before somebody figures out how to throw that curveball that just ticks the very front corner of that 3D box and it's gone.
There's got to be a way around it.
Exactly.
I have a soft spot for guys like Stamm who found a way to gap the belt. And for a catcher, that's a big part of it that for decades of baseball history wasn't appreciated or very least quantified. And now that it is, it's like, okay, we got to get rid of it.
There's so many little things in baseball that umpires do that are either a big part of the game or a small part of the game. I mean, even something as little as someone takes a spill on the mound and they need a couple minutes, and the comes out and he dusts off the plate, and or a catcher takes a ball and he needs to give him a break, so he'll walk around and waste a little bit of time, or just the interaction personally that you see with catchers and umpires, and just watching the game on that kind of. Now, I'm a nerd when it comes to baseball, and I love watching all that.
I do too.
That little stuff, or like hitters in the middle of at bats asking an ump, "Hey, where was that? Was that up?" Anything like that. and you're just going to strip that completely.
I mean, we already
completely
saw
out of the
Travis
game.
Swaggerty yesterday said he didn't like it, right? So
I wonder how much players are even going to have any kind of a say in it, because my guess is pitchers might be okay with it, but I don't think as a hitter that a lot of guys are going to be on board with it.
I don't either.
It's too weird.
I think
just
we're
too
going to
weird.
find there's going to be a lot of people that I think union brothers at the end of the day will line up with other union brothers. I think they're going to kind of
But is
rile
it
themselves up to protect the umpires union, don't you?
Well, it's one of those things. Is will it be important enough to make its way into something that they're willing to barter with, or is that something that because it's not really going to affect follow the money. It's not really going to affect that aspect of it.
And
So-
they're not going to lose jobs either. The umpires are still going to stand back there.
Right.
Honestly, they lost the league. Instead of 5-man umpire crews have 2 or 3 people in the court just
Exactly. I think it's 4. Yeah.
which is my solution to the whole thing. Like, just accept that you're going to have to hire like 10 more people. And then these Cowboy Joes, the umpire, Angel Hernandez, is that can't really call straights. And guess what? 1 out of 5 days they're fired. Rather than 1 out of 4. We're
Yeah.
actually
Or start
taking away the problem.
actually enforcing accuracy a little bit.
That's-
Like, well, if you have a guy like an Angel, well, but like an Angel Hernandez,
Oh
let's say you
God.
have a guy like him, and he's calling balls and strikes, and he's getting it right about 75% of the time, and that's not good enough. Well, why is he still working?
You-
Exactly.
And the question would be, at least for me, the first thing is, has it always been this bad, or has that been a recent thing, or are we just now more aware
Oh,
of it?
it's the TV, man. It's putting the box on
Yeah.
TV. As soon as they put that box on TV, this was a ball that wasn't going to stop rolling.
But now, in fairness, too, you've got guys throwing harder and with more movement than you've ever seen in Major League Baseball. So I would imagine on some level that's got to have some effect to make a pitch harder to call. Now, how much is it even measurable? I don't know. But you've got all these factors, and I just don't know if even with the pushback that it's not going to happen. And I don't know if I like that version of baseball.
I guess we're going to find out. But either way, thanks, Alex, for stopping up here, man.
Appreciate it, man.
And hey, before we get on, you were doing really good work. This is a very good thing for the Pirates community. Like you said, I was in the blog for a long report. I wish I would have had something like this in the crash in like 2018.
Well, you leaving the blogging world is why I started doing this in the first place. So, because I needed to fill a hole. So appreciate what you've done too, man. Thank you.
All right, Alex. Appreciate it, man. Keep up the good work.
Next up, I think I want to get my writing partner, Craig, up here. The old graybeard himself. And because he fits in so perfectly, because he was a former catcher himself.
You told me you weren't going to bring anybody up here that wasn't going to try to outbeard me. And
I don't know if it's out bearding. I think it's more. I don't know.
He's definitely-
It's a mess. Yours is trimmed. It looks nice. Mine just looks like.
So this is Craig Toth. He writes with me over at Inside the Bucks Basement. And I figured we'd pick up that conversation a little bit more from an actual catcher's perspective. I mean, I know you're going to hate this because I know how much you appreciated what Jacob Stallings has done. What are Roboumps going to do to this game?
One of the curious thing to me is it was in low A this past year, and then all of a sudden they're just like, okay, AAA. Like, I don't understand like the thinking, and it's almost like they're trying to speed up the process before they kind of deal with the problems that could exist as it was going to be moving up through the system. As you know, I spoke with Spencer Smith, and he was talking about there wasn't really a lot of issues, but a lot of the catchers were actually looking forward to moving up the system to be able to kind of get away from the Roboumps. So I don't know. I just feel like they're trying to push stuff now, and I don't know if they're trying to create more chaos to take away from the chaos that already exists in Major League Baseball with the lockout, with everything else. It just seems like a pretty huge jump. When I saw AAA, I knew it was probably going to be moving up, possibly to high A, but I didn't see AAA.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly.
I was shocked when I saw AAA. I mean, when that came across, I was like, whoa, this is closer than I think I even realized, even though we know it's close. I just didn't expect it to see it knocking at the doorstep like that.
Well, what's the real question here? Okay, we're old guys complaining about change, which shouldn't surprise anybody. Like we're screaming at clouds, right? So I guess the best way to put it is, would Greg Maddux suck today if this was a part of the game?
Well, that's the thing.
Tom Glavine might.
Yeah, I was listening to the MLB Network on the radio yesterday, and they were talking about like that 4 inches that Maddux used to get outside the zone. Like, how would he, adapt to this type of thing? I think that he would be able to, because they talked about how there's ways to get a call when it's still not even technically a strike, just because of the angles that they use and different types of stuff. So I mean,
yeah, you could have a ball break late and just nick the back corner of that 3D, and it's a strike. You could almost take a guy's kneecap out with a pitch that's technically a strike.
And I hate to say like the purity of the game, but I do like that keeping that human element into the game. And I just don't know how, like, I think after a while, it's like, I was an anti-DH guy, like, for the longest time.
I gave up on that.
But once I saw it in that shortened season, I was like, this isn't too bad. Like, I don't mind this.
I'm actually right there with you. I was very opposed to it at first. I loved the differences between the leagues. I like the strategy aspect that you get in the National League. But then once you started seeing it, you can make the case that it's better for the overall game, I think.
I think
in today's game.
As prospect guys, it's interesting. I think it's going to change some things as far as how players get called up. Maybe we're not as afraid to call a guy like O'Neal Cruz up, like we were just talking about on our show the other day, because maybe you don't have to wait for him to learn how to play a position as well. He can come up and get his cracks and get some at-bats, and it's not the end of the world if he can't man a position every game.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that's the same thing with like the catchers. If your main concern about Henry Davis right now is his receiving ability, his framing ability, a lot of the stuff, I mean, the bat's going to play. So if you don't have to worry about that type of stuff, it may, maybe Cherington saw like the whispers of this.
Probably.
And was like, you know what? Well, it doesn't really matter because we can put him back there, and as long as he can put himself in front of the ball and stop it, at least block it, then really nothing else matters in there in the battle play. So
he's also not as valuable. If you think about it, he's not as valuable then, right? Because a catcher like, say, JT Realmuto, there's a guy that can play the position like almost nobody else. He can hit, and that makes him capable of getting a contract like he just did with Philly. That may not be on the table for Henry Davis, because by the time he gets to free agency, he might just be a designated hitter that used to catch.
It's true. I mean, it's definitely going to make this game that we love evolve, and the pure fans of us will still watch. I mean, we're all going to watch.
Sure. We still watch the Pirates. I mean, so,
Yeah.
We're not the best test subjects, probably.
Yeah, but for me, the person that likes, a catcher calling a game and the framing, and I know people call it that terrible sword work or whatever, but it's just that little thing where you can just kind of like just pull the ball up slightly, turn your hand. I kind of love watching that. And I think when Alex was up there, you guys were talking about the worst thing that happened to baseball is when they started putting that stupid.
It changed everything.
It changed everything because even if it's not a strike, the person watching the game is perceiving it as a strike because it's falling within that zone, which is different for every player. You can get with play, but you can't get behind, you can't get all kinds of different stuff. And then also because they don't really call balls and strikes to honor the law of where the strike zone is.
It's actually per game. I mean, there's an established strike zone per game, really, when it comes down to it, as far as and I think like if they could just get it to that point with things where, okay, at the beginning of the game, this is the strike zone, and it's consistently called. I think hitters are okay with that. I think pitchers would be okay with
Well,
that.
any pitcher will tell you it takes 2-3 innings to understand an umpire's strike zone. Now that barrier to entry has been taken away, right? So I think you're going to see more no hitters because you're not going to have that whole feeling out period where you're not sure if he's going to call this. He's going to call this, right? And I think real good hitters are going to exploit the crap out of this because that zone is going to be locked in every day. They know a fastball right here is not going to be a strike. They know a fastball right here is not going to be one. They're going to wait on that box, and they're going to hone in on it. You give a professional hitter a box that tight, they're going to pound it.
And when you're talking about like that established strike zone, like one of the best things that came out was that kid who does like the ump scorecards. Like I think it's an actual, like not kid,
Yeah.
but like in our eyes kid. I think he's a college.
Well, he
kid.
was a college kid when he started it, yeah.
Just even seeing that was eye-opening, and it shows where the established strike zone is at. I enjoy that.
Right.
It kind of takes that away. Like that job right there, which I found so cool and so interesting, that's gone.
And the other thing we have to ask ourselves is, what do the newer fans think of that, or the fans that are going to be coming along? Do they care about this stuff, or is it just us?
I don't know, man. I think we're in a let's just make sure everything is absolutely right at all times society right now. And baseball is not a sport that was meant to be 100% perfect. I think it's ruined a lot of things. Like the neighborhood play used to be a thing, and then they took the neighborhood play out, and all of a sudden guys are getting drilled in the knees, like trying to make sure they're in the right place. And
everything, I think all sports have fallen into that trap.
Even hockey, like I was watching the Penguins last night, and a big tying goal in Columbus, like the whole building erupts, and he's offside by a quarter inch. It's like,
right.
I'm glad it happened. Don't get me wrong.
And once you start to go down that road, boy, it's awfully hard to peel it back to where things used to be.
Yeah, the NFL's gotten to the point where like you see a touchdown, and it's very rare where you actually can celebrate. You sit there now and you wait. You're like, wait a minute.
First you wait for the flag.
Yeah, where's the flag?
And
no
then
flag. Okay.
And then we get into like, are you seeing granules on the field pop up off
And
the?
that's what's going to happen in Major League Baseball. You already have the cans by first base.
Exactly.
Wherever, that they're going to be like zeroing in on. So the umpire hearing the glove and hearing the ball hit the glove and the foot hit the bag. Those days are gone. I think that we'll adapt to it, and I think the kids that are coming up won't even know the difference.
Right.
But to me, it's just like you said, it's messing with the game, and it's looking for that perfection where baseball has always existed in the game of imperfection.
Sure.
Exactly. Well, Craig, thanks, man. Really appreciate you
Appreciate
stopping
it,
by,
buddy.
brother.
Appreciate it.
So, I think we're just about to wrap up here, Jim. But
yeah, listen,
we wanted
got
to
stuff-
talk. We wanted to talk about the Roboumps, and we ended up talking about the Roboumps.
And I'm sure we're going to talk about it again, probably at length. But yeah, man, we got stuff to give away here.
Yeah, we got work to do.
We got DK Pittsburgh sports stuff. We got pirate gear. We have a signed Bill Madlock jersey to give away. We just want to say thank you to the North Shore Tavern, and definitely you for the Pirates gear. And if you don't know about Definitely You, great store here locally in the Pittsburgh area. It's got Steelers, Pirates, it's Penguins, Pitt. I mean, it's me. If I were a store, that would be me. So
the store is your Twitter handle. I get it.
Yeah. So this was a good time. Hopefully we can do it again.
I think the best way to end this show is to have Ben come up here and for once live say let's go Bucks. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. I think he's only beaten my ear about this 1,000 times since about 2 weeks
All right,
ago.
Ben,
so.
you've rehearsed. You're ready. Let's do it. There you go.
Good job, buddy.
We good, Eddie? All right.